City Councilman Bwimmer.
Mike Warrington, City Council Member.
Jody O'Kady, City Council Member.
Ronnie Price, Mayor.
Homer, City Council Member.
Phil Hamilton, City Council Member.
Bud Buchanan, Police Chief.
Mike Roosevelt, Deputy Fire Chief.
Matt Kane, Finance Director.
Dana Ingstrom, City Clerk.
JT Klaus, City Attorney.
Les Mangus, Director of Community Development.
Jillian Graham, Assistant City Administrator. Jennifer McCausland, City Administrator.
All right. At this time, Daniel Levy of the Anchor Baptist Church will lead us in invocation. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing good.
Thank you
How
for
are you
being
doing?
here.
Let's pray. Dear Lord, as we come to you in prayer, we thank you for this time to gather together. Pray that you would just grant wisdom as decisions are made. Just pray that your will would be accomplished, that Andover would be taken care of. And we just thank you for the safety that you've shown. Pray that you would continue to keep each of our police officers, firefighters, and city workers safe as they perform their daily jobs. Pray that you would just guide and direct in the meeting tonight. Just we thank you in advance. We ask all these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Man, thank you, sir. If you would stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, this time I'll open the floor for a public forum. You have something you'd like to say, feel free to do so. Keep it short and give us your name and address. Nobody? Daniel? All right. Public forum closed. 6, acceptance of agenda.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I move to accept the agenda as presented.
Second.
Any further questions or discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries 5-0. 7, consent agenda. 7-1 through 7-8.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I move to approve consent agenda items 7.1 through 7.8 as presented.
Second, O'Kady.
Any further questions or discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries 5-0. 8, 8-1, approval of the 2025 budget. And the delightful Matt will talk to us about this tonight.
Good evening, all. As you are aware, we've been talking in depth about the budget for a few months now. We did all of our public hearings and presentations at the meeting on August 27th. And tonight is just time to vote on adopting the budget for 2025. Do you have any more questions about the budget before I turn it back over to you?
Any questions? Can I get a motion?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I move to approve the 2025 budget for the city of Andover as presented at the budget hearing on August 27th, 2024.
Second, O'Kady's.
Any further questions or discussion?
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
Matt, I do want to tell you, I appreciate the how you presented the workshop, the budget workshop or retreat, if you will. It was fun interacting with the managers of the departments. Not that I didn't do that in previous years. It was just a different model, that we did. So I really liked it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. The motion carries 5-0.
If you would all make sure you stick around and sign the certificate page before you leave.
Hearing that, Miss O'Kady. 9-1, compensation policy updates, and Chastity's going to speak to us. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Good. Chastity Page, Director of Human Resources, and I wish mine would be as short as Matt's was, but unfortunately, I feel like we need to give the public a little bit of background and some history about our handbook updates and the salary study that we recently completed. So before we get into it, I will say that the city did complete a wage analysis back in 2019. It was recommended that we do that type of analysis every 3 to 5 years. Well, then COVID happened. And then 21 and 22 wages were soaring, and we really did not have a good way to measure ourselves against other communities. And so our consultant at the time decided that rather than doing a complete market analysis, that we should raise our pay scales and our wages, taking into consideration inflation. So while we narrowed the gap between us and other neighboring communities a little bit during that time, the job market evened out a little bit and we were still lagging. And so we knew that there was still work to be done on wages. So in February of this year, we retained the Arnold Group to conduct a compensation study to improve our retention and attract new qualified employees. Our goal was not to become leaders in pay in regards to local government, but simply to become competitive. They reviewed our existing job descriptions, assigned each position a composite score based on 9 compensable factors, so in a very scientific method. The score was then used to determine the job grade, which also determined internal equity within the organization. They also looked at external competitiveness using specific salary data from other communities in Butler County, Wichita metro area, the state of Kansas, and then the US as a whole. While after the study, we are still not leaders in pay for the local government, and there are communities around us that are potentially paying more for some of the positions. The goal was to establish a new pay scale that is competitive to the local market, while being cognizant of the impact it would have on our community and the taxpayers. So the handbook updates, the first item. The current items before you are pieces of our employee handbook that need to be repealed, and then the new versions recommended by the Arnold Group will need to be approved. As presented in the June 24th workshop, after analyzing the external market and internal job equity, the Arnold Group developed a new compensation plan, including proposed pay scales. They also provided us with recommended policy language, and we have reviewed that and modified it to fit our organization and practices. So the first appendix, salary administration, includes the new policy language discussing objectives, methodology, and procedures to attract and retain our qualified employees. It also elaborates on our new grade and step system, which will be implemented, that automatically accounts for longevity, which eliminates the need for additional mid-year pay increases or bonuses, easing the burden of tracking off-cycle pay changes. The policy also gives guidance on performance evaluations and merit bonuses and outlines recommendations for annual pay adjustments and pay scale maintenance. The second item is appendix number 2, and that's our position and classification schedule, and that includes the new job grades and pay scales. We have listed in that appendix both hourly and annualized amounts because we feel that paints a clearer picture, especially since we have personnel with differing schedules. So for instance, annualized amounts for sworn police officers are based on 2,184 hours a year. And then the annualized amounts for firefighters are based on 2,912 hour schedule. So a little bit different than the traditional 2,080 hours that most employees work. For the last appendix, appendix 3, the allowances and stipends, it was recommended during the 2025 budget workshop that all full-time employees and the members of the governing body receive a cell phone stipend of $50 due to the need of using cell phones not only for communication purposes, but for the need for multi-factor authorization and city IT equipment and software. So we are going to start doing that upon your approval effective January 1st. Those employees who do currently receive a $75 a month stipend will be grandfathered in and continue to receive that amount. So that's the first part, and I'm happy to answer any questions in regards to any of those items.
Was the Arnold Group the ones that did the 2019 study?
No, that was through a different consultant. That was through Gallagher.
Mr. Mayor? I move to repeal and approve the updates to Employee Handbook Appendix 1, Salary Administration Plan, Appendix 2, Position and Salary Classification Schedule, and Appendix 3, Allowances and Stipends is presented to be effective January 1st, 2025.
Second, O'Kadis.
Any further questions or discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries 5-0. 9-2, 2025 Employee Pay Plan. Chastity and Philip Hayes with the Arnold Group will talk to us.
So Phil is here for moral support and to answer any questions you guys may have after I'm done. So the 2025 pay plan, once they developed the pay grades and the job grades and the pay scales, they looked at addressing the compression and overall market adjustments for current employees. Each employee's job history and experience was reviewed to determine how much relevant, transferable, and verifiable experience they had coming into their positions, as well as their internal journeys throughout their positions within the organization. We had multiple meetings with senior managers to discuss each department and each employee's wage and journey, and the performance measures were discussed in detail to place them in appropriate step within their pay grade. The Arnold Group then presented their market analysis at the June 24th council workshop, as well as small groups, one-on-one meetings with council members where council had the opportunity to ask follow-up questions. And I think it's fair to say you guys asked some great follow-up questions during both of those workshops and the one-on-one meetings and small group meetings. So the estimated cost to address the full pay compression for the existing workforce and implement the hiring rates to attract new employees for currently unfilled positions and the newly created positions that we're asking for 2025 is just over $1.3 million. I'd like to note that the two departments that are receiving the largest average increases are our public safety departments. The fire, police, and communications departments have a combined average increase of 19%. On the department level, fire on average is receiving a 22% increase, police officers 22% increase, and communication officers or dispatchers a 14% increase. And looking at the public works departments, increases ranged from 9% to 13%. Organization-wide, the average increase was 14%. So the pay plan that is attached, it does encompass 100% of the recommended market adjustment increases. I wanted to make sure to note that not all employees will be receiving an increase due to the determination that they are considered appropriately compensated currently. However, we did decide that in order to give them a little something, because times, inflation and times are changing, full-time regular employees who are not receiving an increase and are receiving less than a 50-cent per hour adjustment will receive a one-time bonus of $1,000 paid out in the first pay period in January. Part-time employees that are regular employees impacted will receive a $500 one-time bonus. Additionally, we're requesting that full-time firefighters holding an AEMT certification will receive an annual bonus of $1,200 distributed monthly at $100 a month. Historically, we'd also ask for additional monies to distribute merit-based increases. However, because of the amount of the funds that it will take to get everyone to their appropriate market value as recommended, we are not requesting that for this year. We will, however, in 2026, anticipate requesting merit bonuses to award based on annual evaluations and employee performance. Again, I'm happy to answer any questions, but I would like to remind you that discussion about individual employees' pay and performance should not occur at the bench. And if you have any questions regarding those details, then we'll need to address that in the executive session. As I mentioned before, Phil Hayes is here if you have any additional questions for him as well.
Anyone?
No, Mayor, I guess I just will make one comment that I just really appreciate the study and what the Arnold Group brought to us, and Chastity, the work you've done with this, because I feel like it takes the subjectiveness out of it a little bit and gives us some real defining measurements to help people stay where they are at and rise above and do that stuff. So I appreciate that.
Mr. Mayor, I'd just like to piggyback off of Councilman Henry and just say that I'm really appreciative of how much detail you guys provided, everything that you guys put into this. I know it wasn't easy. And, you know, anytime you talk about any increases, it's always a difficult conversation at times. But I'm glad that it's happening. It's overdue. And I'm glad that you guys are making the right decisions to take care of the people that run the city.
And one of the first things the mayor said to me when I joined the council was, hey, just so you know, there's a lot of city employees that can't afford to live in our city right now. And I hope that this is a step in the right direction. This affords the opportunity for, you know, at least a few of our employees to now be able to live closer to where they work. So.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I move to approve the 2025 pay plan as presented effective January 1st, 2025.
Second, O'Kadis.
This is a real big deal. Any other questions or discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chastity.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Phil, and your group. It was a privilege to sit in on it and see the amount of work that went into it, and it was a privilege to be part of it. Thank you. Resolution financing of public improvements, 10-1 city policy financing of policy improvements, and Jolene is going to speak to us about this.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Tonight, I have before you is a resolution to alter the policy for the financing of public improvements here in the city and the levying of special assessments. I would like to start off by thanking Les Mangus, our Community Development Director, and Dylan Carroll, our Management Intern, who did a lot of the work behind the scenes on this policy. This new policy aligns the city of Andover with other cities in the region. It lowers a barrier to investment in our community while still providing some prudent mitigation of risk. The policy, as you can see here on the screen, changes the financial guarantee in our current policy from 50% to 35% of improvement costs. So in this new model, the 15% decrease translates into about 2 years of ability to cover bond payments from 6.6 years to 4.6 years. The risk is also mitigated or is reflected by the Kansas statute, which requires counties to foreclose and sell via public auction any real estate with delinquent taxes. Proceeds are applied towards the outstanding delinquent taxes and fees, including special assessments, and these are on properties that are delinquent for over 3 years. The modified release schedule reflects consideration of the value of property taxes provided by new structures and their ability to also contribute in the event of a partially completed development. This policy also, it removes Section 8. This section incentivized developments that were lingering, and it is also known as the 25% city participation of infrastructure. And also it modifies Section 6A, which simply increases the maximum amount of the bond financing terms to the standard of 20 years. If you have any further questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
So for someone like me, Jolene, sitting at home, wondering what this actually does, will you explain to where I can understand if someone's sitting at home, what this does for the folks that are already building something and need capital? Is this release some of it before they can start more work, or?
That's correct. So in the development world, as we discussed at our workshop, the banking industry has really changed in what they require. A letter of credit used to simply be like an insurance policy as such in layman's terms. And now it acts as a liability on their balance sheet. And in development, it's all about being able to move on to the next phase and to having that momentum in the market and capturing it. We do still have an obligation to guard the city against financial risk. And I feel like this is a more prudent policy that allows us to be competitive with other cities, yet still maintain that level of risk mitigation.
Mayor, I would say, I just want to be clear for those that are sitting at home and.
It's still green. I can speak loud.
We know.
I know you know. I would say in many ways, this will impact just Joe citizen at home. Probably not at all. I mean, this is not going to change your specials. The specials are still assessed in the same way. This is more related to the development side, the starting of new neighborhoods, the continuing of development. So this is about, as Jolene said, risk mitigation for the city to ensure that as we split costs and risk with those developers on the front end, it's really splitting the risk, not the cost, splitting the risk with the developers, that the city's got adequate protection so that we don't have to utilize taxpayer funds to pay for this infrastructure that is ultimately paid back by the individual homeowners. So I do want to be clear. The last thing I want is for people to be thinking that like this is going to absolve them of some of their specials obligations or something of that nature.
Essentially, this is another way for us to attract a tool in our belt to attract business and keep business here, right? And so, all right.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I motion to adopt the resolution of restatement of policy for the financing of public improvements and the levying of special assessments within the city of Andover, Kansas.
Second.
Any further questions or discussion? I'd like to thank both staff and just governing body for doing this, because it's a game changer, as they say. It just makes us more competitive. So everyone that worked on this and council approving this, it's a big deal for our community. Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries 5-0. 11-1, 2025-2027 Neighborhood Revitalization Program Public Hearing Resolution. I need to, I'm sorry.
No. You don't need to call a public hearing. This will be to call the public hearing next month.
Okay, and Jolene's going to talk to us, right?
Yes. This month. Sorry, I misstated. Let me start over. So before you tonight is a resolution to set the public hearing.
Okay.
And the public hearing is to be set for later this month on September 24th. So the city's current neighborhood revitalization plan, it expires at the end of this year. And as we talked about in our workshop, the NRP is an economic development tool aimed at encouraging investment in specific geographic areas of the city. And this proposed NRP is depicted on this map with feedback from that workshop. It incentivizes both non-residential and residential redevelopment in blighted areas throughout the city, as well as incentivizing both non-residential and residential new development. Now, while the map has changed from the previous version, the plan, it remains the same. And I believe we have a next slide that details out the plan here. So with the resolution to set the public hearing at the end of this month, you will also at the conclusion of that public hearing, consider a resolution approving the plan. And then also at the meeting on September 24th, you will consider the approval of the required interlocal agreement. Our current NRP plan enjoys the cooperation of our fellow taxing jurisdictions, including Butler County, USD 385, and Butler Community College. Once an interlocal agreement is signed by all the entities, it will be submitted to the Attorney General's office for review and approval. And on the next slide, I did want to just note a little bit of a change in the submission dates. At your workshop, the dates for November 1st and February 1st, a submittal needed to be pushed back just to give us time to work with our interlocal jurisdictions and to present this plan to them. And I would be remiss in also not thanking Les Mangus again. He is the one that put together the eye-watering legal description that is in the plan. So thank you. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them at this time.
Do we approve the projects, or is that, it's all done by the state or tax it?
That is, so the process for the individual property owners who fall
Yes.
within that map.
Like, how do they get the rebate?
Absolutely. So at the back of that plan, there are some appendices that show the applications, and there are different steps to that application that they make. And then Butler County, it is a rebate percentage based on the type of development. Perhaps on that previous slide, if we could go back to that, shows how that is allocated.
Mhm.
And I guess I will, I'll clarify for the public, the important part of that rebate is you do have to pay your taxes up front in full, and then you receive the rebate back for the appropriate percentage based on the project that you have. So taxes are still due, and in fact, if taxes are not paid on time, then you can you'll be removed from the program.
Thanks, Jenny.
Mhm.
And Julie. Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I move to adopt a resolution setting a public hearing for Tuesday, September 24th, 2024 at 7 PM at City Hall, 1609 East Central, to consider the proposed neighborhood revitalization plan.
Second.
So explain to us before we carry on. So this is not only for big businesses, this is for small businesses, signage, what all falls under this?
Let's say the mayor and I want to do a $50,000 non-residential lawn mowing business, and we want to build a building or something. Can you walk us through how we get rebated back on that?
Before you start construction, you would have to apply, and that application comes through our building department to be in the program. We kind of act as the conduit to feed that over to Butler County where it's actually approved. You have to make this application before you start the work. And you establish, the county establishes a value of your property before the construction. You do your project. After the construction is complete, you let the county know, they reappraise your property, and you get a rebate on that gap between the pre-construction value and the post-construction value, where that increment of taxes is rebated. And again, it's rebated after you pay your taxes. The county would then rebate you.
And you have to pull a building permit to be qualified for this.
Yes. And there are thresholds there for residential projects. It has to add $25,000 value. That's oftentimes misconceived. Just because you spend $25,000
Okay.
doesn't always mean that you increase your value by $25,000.
Our
It's
chart
all
does-
about that added value
Yeah.
to your tax
Maybe we
valuation.
should reword the chart because the chart says minimum project valuation. That's a,
Sure.
So I think what's difficult is it's hard for staff here to know what the appraiser is going to give you as an increase in value. So the buyer beware on this is if you don't see an increase in your rebate is only worth the increase on your value. So if the appraiser says a new roof added no value to your home, then you will get no rebate. So you can go through the application. It's a minimal cost, $25. I mean, it's something really $25. So you could go through it and just give it a try and see. We have a really good slide that I don't think we have tonight, but we'll use for the hearing that shows how the biggest bang for the buck is clearly if you go from raw ground to a new structure. And the really big bang for your buck is if you build a building, because that's taxed at a 25% rate compared to 11.5. That's where your biggest bang for your buck for this particular tool, which is why we're calling it economic development. But if you're an individual homeowner with a basement that's unfinished and you want to finish and you're in the map, that probably adds significant value to your home. If you're, say, doubling the livable space within your home, you're going to be a pretty good winner in this program as well. So there are absolutely opportunities to win. It is those routine re-roofing, putting fresh windows on, painting, kitchen remodels that are probably not going to get you what you're hoping to get out of this program. And that's really not the intention of the program. It's really to take, in its true words of the statute, it's to take something that's blighted and to make it new again.
I mean, also if you, let's say your windows are 50 years old, they're single pane, whatever.
I am not going to opine how the appraiser
I
views
mean,
that. I'm not going
windows
to.
are expensive. I mean, they're $2,500 a piece. You put in 50 of those, you just spent $75,000. Same thing if Jody wants to update her kitchen and she has a kitchen from 1960 and, you know, so she's going to spend $35,000 for a kitchen.
But I
So,
don't think the appraiser typically knows that when they come through and do your appraisal on an annual basis. I don't think your tax bill went up because of that, and that's the issue.
well, I mean, they never come in the house, you know, they're not going to know about the basement either. So,
Well, but the building permit will do that.
Right. They're put on notice with that building permit.
yeah. Well, same with the other things too. So.
Right. The biggest bang for the buck is, like Jenny said, new additions, an addition onto your home, finishing a basement, a detached garage, something that brings new value to the property.
If the building permit's pulled now and they don't start construction until after January, does that still count? Or is it when you pull the building permit, that starts the,
They can't have a permit in the system before it's entered into the NRP.
And you'd have to be approved prior to, right?
Yes.
Again, this is just another tool that we can use to attract business or, and in some cases for smaller businesses, better than IRB, correct?
There are advantages to both, particularly on the smaller end, because the cost to get in this program is minute as compared to an IRB, that there are a lot of upfront costs to get in an IRB.
All right. Any other questions or discussion? Comments? All in favor, say aye.
aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries 5-0. 12-12-1 Founders Parkways Allen Street to Andover Road paving and incidental drainage improvements bid. And Les, going to talk to us about that.
Mr. Mayor and Council, I'm happy to bring you bids for the Founders Parkway project. You may remember that this is the third phase of our Founders Parkway. The two of the phases are, one is complete, the other is nearly complete. This third phase brings us from the west over to Andover Road. We're happy to see that the construction industry has maybe normalized a little bit. Our bids are considerably less than our engineer's estimate. I think we can attribute that to the construction market right now, that maybe some of the contractors have caught their workload up a bit. Material prices have stabilized dramatically. And in this case, Pearson Construction is working on the second phase of this Founders Parkway development that's adjacent to this project. So we're happy that the stars aligned and we're bringing you bids that are well under our engineer's estimate. You may remember that this particular project is utilizing some funds from the KDOT Access Management Program, $1.5 million. So that will be a welcome addition to our street improvements budget to have this project come in below engineer's estimate.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I move to accept the lowest qualified bid from Pearson Construction LLC, Wichita, Kansas, in the amount of $2,661,417 and reject all their bids and authorize the mayor to sign the contract for the Founders Parkway to Allen Street to Andover Road paving and incidental drainage projects, subject to approval by the Kansas Department of Transportation.
Second, O'Katy's.
Any further questions or discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries 5-0. The moment we've all been waiting for, 13-1 GAD firework display. And Daniel and Beth are going to talk to us about this.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. As you are probably aware, GAD is 17 days away. It'll be on the 27th, 28th, and 29th. We have two parts of our presentation. I'll address their fireworks closure. Beth is also here to give you some updates on the efforts of the committees and everyone's been making progress on for this year's event. Similar drill to previous years, Stellar Fireworks has agreed to be our display operator. The plan is to close Yorktown Road as in years past from Central Avenue exit down to the Central Park Archway. That'll happen on Saturday. The closure will last during the afternoon while the display is set up, and then the show will be in the evening. On your council packet, the appropriate documents are attached. It's been reviewed by your fire marshal. The liability insurance and state of Kansas permits are there. There is a site plan map in case you need to refresh your memory on those locations. And then the new internal road closure routing forms are on there as well. That's been reviewed by your police department, fire department, and your public works director. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have about that phase before we have Beth give you the update.
No questions? All right.
Okay.
Yep.
Hello. The Greater Andover Days, as Daniel said, is 27th to 29th of September. It is in its 57th year, so the theme this year is 57, because not only is it its 57th year, but it's also the year that we incorporated, so that's quite a good little. The GAD committee is comprised of community members and has been meeting since February 2024. Buttons and bracelets this year. We're calling them bracelets because the things that look like this, we don't want to confuse between the carnival wristbands and our bracelets. So just if you're ever talking about buttons and the other thing, if you could say bracelets, that'd be great. They are $3 an hour, like every other year. And then just before on the Friday, they go up to $5. So if you want to get your buttons at the lower price, go ahead and get those now. They're available in 8 different locations here at City Hall, the Public Library, Andover State Bank, Area Chamber of Commerce, Senior Centre, Dillon's, Westport Jewellers, and the South Central Mental Health. So they all have enough buttons to go for now, and if you want your buttons, go ahead and get them early. A portion of the proceeds will benefit this year the Foundation for Andover Schools is who we're giving to this year. The new things this year, we have ASM are running a concert in the park on the Friday night. That's going to be Josh Abbott Band with Stony LaRue and the Wilder Blue, which apparently is Red Dirt Country. The art show this year at the Andover Public Library will be dedicated to Rita Frakes, who was an art teacher and coach at the Andover Central. We have a Disney Princess Sing-Along and Meet the Paw Patrol on the Saturday, which I think is going to be really popular. Sunday is going to be a little bit different this year. We have a lot more new activities. It's going to be a sort of Sunday wind down festival thing. It's going to kick off in the morning with a fun run around the park, which is only 1 kilometre. So if you want to not do the 5K, you've got an option to do that. And then Generation Churches are going to do a service from 10 o'clock. And then we've got lots of different things, a lot of animal things. So we've got a bee petting zoo. Tanganyika will bring some of their animals, including a penguin, which I'm very excited about. Goat yoga, petting zoo, love on a leash, Rosie the therapy rabbit, and service dog demo. So if you do like animals like I do, then you're going to love it. Talks on stage include a child seat safety talk, and then they're going to do checks afterwards if people want to get their car seats checked. There's a guy doing a booth with talking about geocaching. So, and we're going to do some walking around the Central Park looking at those things. YMCA update, in case people don't know what's going on there or haven't visited it. Safe planting by the PD. They've offered to come and talk about safe planting around your house to prevent fires. A community gardens are coming to talk, and loads more. Anyway, activity booths and interactive games throughout the whole afternoon. Kindness Rocks are going to do their scavenger hunt again with the rocks. So, and the entertainment on stage is going to be lots of different things. They're going to be doing talks and open mic. He bought his thing. And then we're going to have a barbershop singers from Butler as well, which is going to be nice. Then there's a Mad Scientist mini booth and show. So if you're into any of those things, please come along. Registration is available for activities and we are still taking reservations for golf tournament, pickleball, parade, cornhole tournament, volleyball tournament, and lots more. So go ahead and check out what's in there. We're also still looking for volunteers. We have a volunteer sign-up list on Sign Up Genius. So please go ahead, and even you can just do an hour. Just let me know and I'll give you something interesting to do. This year, Megan has done an amazing job raising sponsorship, and she's raised over $33,000 in sponsorship this year, which is $8,000 more than last year, which is amazing. For more information, check out the individual schedules on andover.com/GAD, and please like the Facebook page. Thank you very much.
Beth, in regards to the registration fees and stuff for cornhole, pickleball, that kind of stuff, is it better to maximize my fees, if you will, and go ahead and register for all those things that I'm interested in with one transaction as opposed to doing it multiple times? Because one, I get a transaction fee each time. So just bulk it all together and get it in.
Yes, there's like a service fee for a credit
Each
card
transaction,
payments,
so-
especially. Yeah, so you will save money if you do it all at the same time.
And then will I be able to purchase the bracelets at all the places you mentioned? Can I do it online as well, purchase the bracelet?
No,
No,
it is in person for bracelets and buttons.
thank you. And then would you say the money raised last year, was that who raised the money for last year's?
What do we raise the money for?
No. Who did Megan raise the money last year as well?
Megan again.
So like
through
this is a
sponsorship.
PR for you this year, Megan. That's awesome. Just great job on the personal record for that. So Thank you. That's it.
All right.
Any more questions?
Any more questions? Can I get a motion?
Sure, Mr. Mayor. I move to approve the discharge of fireworks in Andover Central Park from approximately 8:45 PM to 9:50 PM on September 28th, 2024.
Second, O'Kadies.
Any further questions or discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you all. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, member items. Let's start with Philip tonight.
I got nothing tonight.
Chamber Cornhole Friday. Can't wait, entered in. And if anything, if you don't want to play, come and watch. It's going to be in the Central Park, in front of the amphitheater there. Should be an enjoyable time, and can't wait. Thank the library for sending one of their representatives in to be attendance tonight. So appreciate that from the board members. Blake, how you doing?
So I got the privilege of sitting with the young man. He's at lunch this week. He's a Reserve Air Force out of Andover School. And we have two kids in town. He's 19 years old, been traveling all over the world, and he is the boom operator at 19 years old. So when you're fueling another plane, then the pilots both give the control of the plane to the boom operator. And we've got two of these youngsters from Andover that are doing this, and one of them's 19 years old, and I think the other one's his classmate as well. So I just want to give him a shout out. I would mention his name, but I don't know the other one's name, and I don't want to do that. But man, we have so many amazing students come out of Andover for swimming, for basketball, for tennis, for all these things. And here we got this kid flying all over the world being a boom operator. Is an amazing task. And at 19 years old, that's pretty impressive. So Andover turns out a lot of amazing people. It's just I was just floored by his professionalism, and man, that's scary. You know what I mean? So I just want to say thank you to them young men for representing Andover in a proud way.
I've got nothing tonight.
Nothing tonight.
Makes it 3. Nothing tonight.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I move to recess the city council meeting to September 16th, 2024 at 6 PM for a city logo stakeholder workshop to be held in the city council chambers in Andover, Kansas.
Second, O'Kadies.
Any further questions or discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries 5-0. Yeah.
Mike, sorry, 4 minutes.